Okay, so let's do these really fast. So for AFDA 3.1, we're talking about domain and range. The domain is all of the x values in whatever we're looking at, whether it's a relation, such as a mapping or a table, or a function like a continuous graph. Now, on the front of this page, we're going to have different kinds of relations that have finite points, and on the back, we're going to have some continuous graphs. So, the domain is the set of all the x values, the range is the set of all the y values. And the way that we find the domain and range depends on the type of relation that we're looking at. So, for example, we have a mapping where it shows all of the x values mapping to their corresponding y values. So we have 1 mapping to 2, 3 mapping to 4, 4 mapping to 6, and 5 mapping to 4. Now, the way that we write the domain is we write it in a way such that the values do not repeat. And the best way to write it is least to greatest, but you don't have to write it least to greatest. So, the x values are the ones in this first oval. And this is why mappings are great for domain and range. And the range is the y values, which are the ones in the second oval. Okay, so for this table, in class we went around the room and gave random numbers from 1 to 5. So I'm just going to come up with some right now. Okay. So for the domain, again, we want to make it so that the values do not repeat. And I prefer to write them in least to greatest. That's just a preference for me personally. But 1, 2, 3, 6 is how we write this. Keep in mind we do not write the 1 twice because we don't want the values to be repeated when we list them. Now for the range, it would be 1, 2, 3. There are 2 3s, but we only write it once, and then 4. Okay, for the bottom 2, we have a set of ordered pairs. So we're going to look at the x values for the domain, from 0, 2, and 4, and the y values for the range, so 1, 4, and 7. And for a scatter plot, we're going to look at the points and figure out their coordinates. And to go least to greatest, for the domain we go left to right, and for the range we go bottom to top. So, domain will start with the leftmost point, which has an x value of 1, and the next one has an x value of 2. The next one has an x value of 3. The next one has an x value of 4. The next one has an x value of 6. And the next one has an x value of 7. Now for the range, we're going to go bottom to top because the lower y values are down here and the greater y values are up here. So, it starts at -4. Then the next y value is 2. There are 2 points with the y value of 2, but we only have to write it once because we don't want the values to repeat when we list them. Next is 4. Next is all the way up here at 10, and then we have one more up here at 12. And that is how you find the domain and range of what we call discrete relations, because discrete means that you can just list the x and y values like this. You can list all of the values.